sad to say, it's because he's not really bonded with, he's got like one sort of friendish out here, but he doesn't really bond with any of the other geese. So all he had before was his brother. So so yeah, he's more bonded with me. I'm his flock, so he wants to protect me. And if you have a gander, if they grow up together, if you have a pair, if they grew up together, or you have girls, if you have female geese, they're normally they're going to bond with their own kind normally if they grew up together, they've been together a while, or if it's you have a lone male or a lone female, and then you give them another one. Well, then they're more likely to bond to each other. But if you have a single and you're looking for one as a companion, they're best if it's the ganders make the better companions. The girls are just the female geese normally, at least the Chinese geese, in my experience, like the Chinese and the Africans, don't really so much make really good companions. Now, I don't know, maybe the pilgrims do, or or the Toulouse or some other breed I don't have a lot of experience with. I only work with one Toulouse gander, and then the rest of my experience with the domestics has really been Africans and Chinese. But as far as my experience with them, if you want a companion goose, whether it's a Chinese or an African, and probably even a Toulouse, and I would say most other geese, it's really the ganders that bond with you more and make the better companions than the girls do. But if you have them in some kind of a male-female pair, or you get several geese, you get, buy 2, 3, 4 geese or something like that, and you have like this flock thing going on, and they were all raised together, which they really should be anyway. If you're going to put geese together, you can't just put unknown random geese together. You can't just bring if you got a gander and bring it home when you've got other ganders there and everything. That's not really going to work out unless you have separate accommodations, but they're going to fight. Especially if there's girls around some other established flock order. But if you put a female with a male, they're most likely going to get along at least after a while. But if you're looking for a nice loyal companion like pet goose, it's a single gander is better. I don't want him to be lonely. I would actually like him to bond with other geese because he had his brother, but that's not really happening. So I really enjoy that we have this social interaction, that he's loyal. He follows me around everywhere. I'm watering some grass right now and refilling water bowls and putting out food and all that kind of stuff. And he follows me around everywhere. He comes to me every time he sees me when I call his name. He's a real good and loyal goose. So I really appreciate that. I wouldn't mind if he bonded with other geese and he had them. But that's the way it is. But if you do want a companion, and in a lot of respects, I'm not going to say that's healthy either. It is kind of selfish, though, if you want a companion goose and then they're just by themselves and you get a lone gander just to be your companion. Well, I would say that's really more so suited to if you were older, or you do pretty well, you're retired, you don't have to work anymore, or you work from home, something like that, and maybe you can keep the geese, you let them come inside and they wear a little goose diaper or whatever it is. But really, ideally, it really stresses them a lot, causes them a lot of stress and anxiety that they will get. He gets separation anxiety. They will get separation anxiety when you leave them and everything. Now, he does have some of these other geese that at least he can go be near them, you know, to feel close to other geese and sort of for larger flock protection. And, you know, it's not terrible. I couldn't, if he was the only one here, I couldn't just like go off to town, go to the store and leave him in the yard or whatever, because he would cry. If he didn't have any other geese or something, he would just bawl his head off and cry, and that would be terrible. And that's kind of what happens if you've got a single. And I've had this happen before with fostered, lone little young roosters and stuff. They're kind of the same way. Then they'll want to imprint on you because they don't have their flock anymore, and they follow you around. And when you leave, you go off and leave. Or even when I would go to another room and he didn't know where I was, he'd start crying and looking for me and everything. So they're really like that. They really need flock. They really need socialization. So really, just to top that all off, I would say this doesn't mean it's a good idea to for a companion animal, go out and get a male, Chinese gander or something and make a single, companion animal out of them. I'm not saying that. Unless you meet some criteria, like I already set out, where it can be a healthy, social atmosphere for him, and he's not going to have separation anxiety, because a goose will do that if you raise them or keep them as a pet, as a lone goose. Then if you're not around all the time, if they don't go with you everywhere, if they're not in the house with you, or you're not spending a lot of time outside with them all the time, don't do it, because they will suffer psychologically from it. And so that's really the message. But if you can spend a lot of time with them, like I usually do with Kevin, and he does have other geese that, they're sort of, they're not hostile to him. They let him hang around close. They just make him keep his distance. But that's enough. They're close enough that it doesn't really hurt his psyche too much. If I'm not out here, he'll go hang out with them, and then he's fine. He does his own thing. He'll go swim, or he'll go find something to eat. He'll go forage or whatever, and it doesn't really hurt his feelings too much. But if he was a lone goose out here in the yard, and I left and went inside, or I drove off to the store, that would be horrible for him. He would cry his head off until I came back. So you just don't want to do that sort of thing to them. Huh, Kevin? Yes. Well, he's a good boy. He's a sweet gander.